Welcome to the podcast. I'm on my way to a better place than I was before. It's because I know people like John Maestas. He's a dude from Albuquerque, New Mexico, who's a bad motherfucker. If you didn't know, I curse in this podcast. Now you know. So the guest today is my brother, John Maestas. He's one of the best guitarists and musicians I know. We grew up together here in Albuquerque. He's actually from Albuquerque, New Mexico, Burqueño. And he picked up and left to New Orleans about 6 years ago. And so it was wonderful to sit down and talk with him and kind of catch up to, you know, where he's at, what he's up to, and what's happening with the record label that he started. That's right, you heard me. John Maestas, if you didn't know, started a record label called Bubble Bath Records. That's right, Bubble Bath Records is out there. And if you don't know about it, you need to go find out. Bubble Bath Records is actually where you can find all of my music. So go to bubblebathrecords.com. I'm going to put some links in here, of course, so you can check out all that stuff. But whew, John Maestas is someone that I've admired for so long, and I'm honored to bring this motherfucking podcast to you guys on his birthday. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you enjoy this song from John Maestas, and then the podcast is going to start. So enjoy it. Here we go. Happy birthday, Jono! Woo! What's up, John Maestas?
Big chillin', Claudio. What you up to?
My man, it's so good to have you here. I'm honored to have you on the podcast. It's so great to finally do this, man. We've been talking about it.
Honor and the pleasure is all mine, bro. Thank you for
man.
having me.
Hey, man. It's good. It's
Love
definitely like, you know, something that has been a long time in the making because we did the podcasts back in the day at Ryan Miles' place, chilling at the VS.
Kicking it at the VS.
Excuse me, was it really called Kicking It at the VS?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder, I doubt that stuff is still up. I'm sure it's probably expired by now on whatever hosting site it was on.
Ryan Miles,
however many years
you need
that was
to
ago.
let us know.
Yeah.
Because he was the mastermind behind.
He was, man. He taught me a lot. Well, you continue to teach me a lot. You teach me a lot before we started this podcast. How those recording levels looking, John? Does it look all right to you, my man?
I think it's going to be great.
Man, you know, you teach me so much, bro, and I really appreciate that, man. It's sick because...
I'll see, dude. We interchange everything.
I know, but when you were living with Ryan Miles back in the day and we did that podcast, you know, it was like... It was funny because it was like... I remember seeing that little side of Ryan come out where he was a producer and doing his hip-hop stuff, you know,
yeah.
making his beats and all this kind of stuff. It's like, that's inspiring stuff. That's badass.
Ryan Miles was like the catalyst for so much music, bro. Because Ryan used to like always put us on to all these different artists and like electronic artists, hip hop artists, like soul singers. He was always on some amazing shit. And instrumental stuff. I mean, like,
yeah, man. Yeah.
Damn.
I don't know where the heck his years went, but that guy just like, yeah. always had it going together, man. I always love going back through like my old photos and seeing that trip that we took back. What was it? It had to have been back in like 2009, 10.
NYC Winter Jazz
Yeah,
Fest.
bro. That was amazing, man. We had such a good time.
Yeah, it was pretty
we stayed
amazing.
in Soho at a nice hotel, and someone fell asleep with chocolate close to them, and so it looked weird the next morning when they woke up with chocolate pasted to them
all over the
fingers,
nice,
you know,
clean sheets.
And
it's terrible.
Cleaning lady walked in and was just like, oh god, I hate my job.
I hate my job. We're like, sorry, but it's not what you think.
It was also learning. It was a learning experience because it was like, yo, we definitely went and like, you know, we freaking we were in Soho and we asked the people at the front desk. We said, hey, what restaurant do you recommend? Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Being in Soho, being in a freaking expensive ass part of New York, they're going to say, oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you exactly where to go. Go to this Italian restaurant. That's amazing. And I was like, I love Italian food. Let's go. And we went, and the bill came.
Spent way too much money on pasta that night.
That was small. I was so offended, man. We were all like butthurt. You know, we're all used to that McDonald's Olive Garden type pasta and all that stuff, you know.
Nah, I ain't used to that.
I was, you know what I'm saying? I was working then. I don't think I was working then at that time, but I was about to start working there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember. Bro. And what are we talking about? Some pasta? We talking about
talking about that New York trip, man. It was such a. It was. I remember having pizza late night. I remember so much stuff from that trip, man. I remember buying the badass black, hat, warm hat that I bought in that vicinity of where all the clubs were during Winter Jazz Fest. That was cool, man.
That was so sick.
Getting pizza late at night.
So many bands. Yeah, man. I mean, that pizza joint, I actually went back to that pizza joint that we went to.
Really?
When we first went over there.
What?
I went over there with Barry Stevenson. Freaking amazing friend of mine and a friend of ours.
Is that what that was? I forget what neighborhood that was.
Yeah, it's over in Greenwich Village. It's not too far away from Smalls.
Nice.
Fat Cat, that whole area.
Yeah.
And I was like telling him when we were over there, I was like, man, on this New York Winter Jazz Fest trip with Claudio and our boy Ryan Miles, this was our pizza joint. It was the bomb diggity, and it was exactly what we needed at the moment, and it was perfect freaking New York classic pizza.
New York is such an experience, man. That city was so alive. It was funny because I don't know if you remember this, but when we were there, bro, there was a strike.
Yeah.
The garbage men. The garbage disposal guys were all on strike, and so the trash was stacked as high as we were on the sides of the freaking sidewalks as we were walking through the city. It was so crazy, man.
Yeah, that was intense. It was like,
oh, man, I remember so much about that trip, man. I remember we went down to the little tip of Central Park West, but really we went into the Lincoln Center, and we got to see the art gallery, man. Those gigantic murals.
Oh, yeah,
that was
beautiful.
so amazing, man. And it was
they created an amazing space over there, man.
Woo.
And like, it's so cool.
I love New York.
To think that we saw that when we were like, teenagers. I was still
we weren't 19, teenagers. No,
20.
we were not. No, we were 21, right?
Well,
we were 21 because we were drinking. I don't think you were legally.
I had my fake ID at that point. That's why I was like, I might have been a teenager at that point, actually.
Supposedly.
Anyways, not trying to divulge all of my secrets or nothing on this podcast here, Claudio.
Yeah, no comment.
No, pero
plead the fifth.
It was like, I remember just being over there and like really, we were young and checking out Lincoln Center, and that was like one of these like grand institutions for jazz music and roots music of the United States, and we were like, dang, this is incredible. Look at this like incredible structure here and like all the modern aspect and architecture behind it and design aesthetic and the music that they're putting together. And it was just like crazy then. And now we have friends that play over at Lincoln Center all the time, like regularly.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy to see that stuff at Disney's Club. It's just like, nuts. God damn, man. It's inspiring, I'm so grateful that back in the day, I mean, it was a collection of you and Glenn Coster talking to me in that time frame when I was, when I had applied for the National Student Exchange Program and gotten accepted to go to the University of New Orleans. Because Glenn had told me about Steve Masikowski.
Yeah.
And also, of course, through his dear friend Ed Peterson.
Yeah.
And so it was like so sick, man. And you were like you lit up. You were like so excited when I told you that I was going to New Orleans. You were like, man, I've been dreaming about going to that city. And I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but I do believe that it was our dear friend here in Albuquerque, who's now a radio host, Miss Patty Littlefield, that put that little bit in our ear of getting out and going to a city like New Orleans.
It was definitely Patty, yeah.
But how awesome was it that we both acted, and you were excited about me going, and it inspired you in some way to like just continue working your ass off. At that point, you had finished fucking school for a year at Chicago at Roosevelt Conservatory, and then come back and was off for a semester, just chilling, diving into Miles Davis's music, and then like going to Berkeley for a semester via Lee Burke, seeing you at a club in Santa Fe and being like, hey, why don't you come to my school? But like then I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a trip seeing your story, and I forget where I'm going with that story. So I'm gonna let you,
It's all good, Claudio. We just flow with wherever the river flows. Sometimes you just like run off in a little tributary,
Hey, bro.
Apart from the big Rio Grande, which really isn't that grande no more, y'all. I don't know how many of y'all have seen the Rio Grande, but it's pretty sad in Albuquerque. It's sad to say. It's a little dried up. Freaking.
But I love it.
Got to protect the water rights. Y'all be conscious about your water usage and what we're putting in your body.
Hey, that's definitely
important
true.
Shit.
Especially out here in the desert,
Yeah, you grow up with that.
It's sad to see that stuff
out here,
Man, when I'm in New Orleans and I see that kind of stuff, as far as like the issues with the food and I'm sorry, excuse me, not the food, but by way of the water and like there being like, I don't know if it was pest. I forget what it was, but there was something to
brain-eating amoebas.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Twice,
not
definitely.
Once,
but twice.
More than a few times. Let's be real.
Hurts my heart, man. It's like for as much as you love the city, we were talking about this the other day.
So yeah, our friend Arthur Metters is an amazing bass player. I've been trying to convince him to move down to New Orleans. He's thinking about, just like, man, it looks pretty cool over there. Tell me a little bit about it. I'm like, dude, it's great. It's an incredible city. All this music, all these great people, the culture, the food. You're gonna love it. You're gonna totally thrive. And then he sends me a little link in a message that's like, brain-eating amoeba found in New Orleans water. The water is undrinkable for about a week or whatever. They're doing like boil advisory. You got to boil it. And it's like, what's up with this, bro? That's all the message says. Like, what's up with this? I'm like, as good as it can be, it can also be like the exponentially good it can be. It can also be like the exponentially bad, It's like, you got to have balance, and like,
yeah.
Be ready for some crazy shit in that city.
New Orleans is such a magical city, man. I adore that place, man. I try and go back as often as I can. There might possibly be an opportunity that I might make it out there in August. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. But
let me know, bro.
I think you might still be on the road.
I know, but you got.
Oh, for sure. I appreciate
a place
that,
to crash at, dog.
Always, man. Always. Now, John, tell me about New Orleans, my man. Now I'm so happy that you came out here for the month, man. We have been doing so much stuff in this past, month that you've been out here, as far as putting on shows, as far as hanging out with awesome friends of ours, and just kind of being a part of a lot of stuff, as well as just working a lot in general. We did an awesome thing where we put on a show for Michael Anthony for our freaking amazing teacher that we've known for 14 years.
Yeah.
13, 14 years. It's like amazing to realize that and have that relationship with him. We were just filming with him earlier today, man, kind of wrapping up as far as trying to document everything that happened with that concert, Yeah,
that was awesome today.
At least this section of the concert, right? We definitely hope to do it again and again, So, but that was so cool to do all that and to put on so many shows throughout the month, man, and see you doing your thing with Hakeem Bellamy. Like, you've got a show.
Oh yeah, that stuff has been awesome.
Is coming out this week. So when this podcast drops, actually, it will be the week after you have already done this amazing show at the Outpost with Hakeem Bellamy, and I know it's going to be amazing because I've been hearing you at this freaking house, rehearsing your butt off with Hakeem and learning how to freaking like totally mastermind control that drum machine like to the best of your abilities at this current moment,
working it out,
and like you know what I'm saying, and seeing you guys do that up in Santa Fe for the songs that I got to see, as well as doing it along with you guys over at Zinc this past weekend. It was awesome, man. It was inspiring, because
thanks, man.
Like I said, I dream about doing that kind of stuff with the keyboard and with loops, and you bought yourself a loop when you were out here. You were able to work it out and like, making this concert idea happen through the opportunity that Tom Goronick offered you. By saying like, hey, get out, you want some work?
He's like,
let's do some
what
gigs.
Are you doing this summer?
What do you want to do? And so you had,
what's up, Tom?
Not just an opportunity to do Juan Tigre stuff with the amazing Paul Palmer and Arthur Metters, who we were already talking about, but also do your own thing, open it up in Santa Fe at the bandstand for AJO with Hillary Smith, with our dear friend Hakeem Bellamy, who's who's the first Albuquerque poet laureate, and is now working alongside the city, doing amazing stuff, man. And it's inspiring seeing y'all do your thing, as far as like saying, okay, we got an opportunity to do a show and we're going to do this. So, I mean, just for a minute, tell some of the people out there as they listen about what inspired you, bro, when you came together with the idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know the opportunity came up, but when you said Hakeem, you know what I'm saying? Was it because you bought that drum machine a couple months ago? Was it just because, I mean, that's just like a vibe you thought would fit? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was your inspiration to go in that direction?
I mean, you know, it was really, like you had mentioned, it was Tom Goronick that presented that opportunity and was like, why don't you do something with Hakeem? What are you doing this summer? You know, come on, like, what do you got going on? So hit up Hakeem.
Did he said you should hit up Hakeem?
Yeah, he did. He was like,
tight.
He was like, yo, you should ask Hakeem. And I was like, sick, man. Yeah, I haven't talked to Hakeem in a long time. Like, I would love to see what he's up to, you know? Hit him up, and I was like, what's up, bro? You know, what you up to this summer? You want to, like, do some music? Tom offered us a performance, you know? Like, this could be cool. And he was like, yeah, dog, let's do something. Like, we started talking about it, like, immediately from the get-go, and that's what I love about working with Hakeem and just hanging with him, you know? Because from the very beginning of us hanging out and, like, working on music, well, I should say, like, from the beginning of our relationship, we were working on stuff. It was like immediately jump into, like,
how'd you meet Hakeem?
Shit, I don't even know now. I met Hakeem, actually. I do remember now. I met Hakeem through my really good friend and old co-worker and amazing poet herself, Jessica Helen Lopez. And Jessica Lopez used to work over at Perennial's restaurant with me and with my family. And she really introduced me to slam poetry and, like, checking out different poets and, like, really considering poetry as a serious art form. And I was a youngin' when she was really introducing me to this. You know, I was like 12 years old, 13 years old, getting into it. And I was like, okay. And I remember she had invited me out to a slam poetry recital over at the Blue Dragon Cafe.
The Blue Dragon Cafe?
The Blue Dragon. That was over off of Girard in the Indian school, dude. It was an amazing little place. It was like the perfect, like, example of a coffee shop in the village of New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, beatniks and poets and musicians and just, like, people who didn't really have jobs or were, like, living off of whatever means that they had, that they were just coming and hanging out at the coffee shop and doing their creative shit there and talking with people and playing chess and playing, like, checkers and playing Go and playing, like, music and reciting slam poetry.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was the place where I believe that's where I met Hakeem. Was that Jessica was doing a poem over there and she invited me to that recital.
Really?
Yeah. And that's when, like, that's when I met Hakeem, is because I believe he was there and he recited a poem too, and Jessica introduced us.
That's pretty tight. Now, what year was that, man? I was trying to think the other day when I met Hakeem. That had to have been what? You imagine that was like 2010?
Mine's 11? That must have been around 2007 for me. I was about 17, right before I left for college was when I must have met him, you know. And then we didn't even get to, like, do anything. I just met him then when I was really young. It's crazy to think that
he was working, you know what I'm saying, like, here in the city for, you know, at least a year or 2 years or 3 years before he became Poet Laureate, right? A couple years, right?
Mm-hmm. He's got an amazing story himself, man.
I look forward to having him on the podcast, bro. We've been talking about doing that, so we're definitely going to get into his story in length, right? But
yeah. Anyways, we started working together, and from the bat, once, like, I came back from college and stuff, and I was here living in Albuquerque, we started working together right off the bat because he had invited me to do a little performance showcase over at the Tractor Brewing.
Nice.
And it was him and I and Leah Black.
What?
Yeah. So Leah Black was singing.
My old girl. No, she's not my girl. I just asked her to be my wife one time.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember you did that.
She was a judge for, you know, a talent show, you know, at the university, and I came up to her, was flirting with her. I'll have her on the podcast. Leah Black's a good friend of mine. She's She's awesome. Old radio host personality.
Amazing.
A lot of people in Albuquerque will recognize her. Leah Black's awesome. Now working with Marble Brewery, which
we are proud to be
sponsored by.
Consuming at the moment during pre and probably post interview.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, Leah Black.
How
and so
cool,
it was
man.
it was the three of us, and like
Was it Tractor Knob Hill back then? Right?
Yes,
because downtown I'm sure wasn't around then yet.
Right. It was Tractor Knob Hill, and that was right before I left to New Orleans. So that was probably 2011.
Wow, sick. That's
and
really cool. Man.
That's when we got together, and we were working on music. And then that same year, I got a gig. Tom Grolnick offered me a performance over at the Summerfest, and I was like, well, I want to do something then. So I put together this group with Artie, Paul Palmer, and Hakeem and I. So it was the four of us, and we called it the Analog Assassins.
That's right. That was 2012?
I think that was 2011.
Wow, really?
It might have been 2012. I got to look up that date because
you moved to New Orleans in September, I remember.
In August, yeah.
It was late August. You got there by September, which was like the hurricane.
Yep.
That welcomed you to town.
Hurricane Isaac.
Yeah, wow.
Talk about like feeling the pull and the push at the same time. Like there was a hurricane in New Orleans, and it was like, dude, everyone's like, what are you doing? Why are you moving there right now? Like there's a hurricane there.
Happening right now. Your family's sending you links.
Everyone's sending me links and like weather, and it's like, Jono, you don't look at the weather or what?
Why are you doing this?
Like, what are you doing? And I was just like, man, I'm feeling so both pulled by the city after having gone there and visited with you when you moved there for 5 days. When I went there for 5 days with you, is what I mean, and pushed just like from whatever, like the universe was just like, go, like get up, go.
Bro, it was tight seeing you move there. I still remember the stories to this day that you told me about working at the awesome place that I always love going and playing at. That's Live Oak Cafe, and they have the best shrimp and grits around.
Definitely do.
God. So amazing.
Love Live Oak.
You do. I do recommend you take a nap after
consuming shrimp and grits in New Orleans.
The brunch that you have, but it is amazing. I love the Live Oak Cafe. But the story that you told me of when you moved to New Orleans and when you straddled the line of, yes, I need to work and make money, but after a day of working that job that you got, you were like, nope. I'm not going to get back into this. Like, I moved here to freaking make, music. And I remember you asked me when I was living there. You asked me, bro, do you think there's enough work in the city for me to be able to move there and live? And I was like, hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anyone that can do it, it's you. I can't remember if I said that exactly, but that's absolutely what I felt and knew in the fucking bottom of my, stomach, because then I continued to tell a lot of the friends that I'd made, like Josh Starkman and some of the other guys, that like, y'all don't even know who's about to come to town. Like the second coming of Christ is about to come.
Oh, see.
You know what I'm
Come
saying?
on,
like,
you didn't say that.
Y'all all love Danny Abel, which Danny Abel is one of my favorite guitar players.
I love
like,
Danny Abel.
This dude's about to come and play circles around all y'all motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
No.
But I mean, I know, I know you totally like, almost like came under baptism and did a whole nother thing when you went to New Orleans, as far as like what musically you were playing and what your musical guitar voice was like, where you were at, you know what I'm saying, before you moved there to then like after a year of living there, after 2 years of living there, after 3, 4, 5, now you've lived there for 6 years. And just to see
6 years this late August,
the different connection you have with how to express yourself musically on the guitar. It's quite a journey. And I mean, I would hope anyone would have a journey as they move to another city and get into that. You know what I'm saying? But, long story short, where I came from was seeing the evolution of you moving there, wanting to work and wanting to play, and loving the idea of just living off of your music so much that you would literally like, you knew how to like cook for yourself for like the whole week or plus, and like not even eat vegetables or anything like that, or do anything like that, so that when you have to, you know what I'm saying, like go about like dealing with your money for the week, you can buy only what you need so that you can survive. And then when you make those gigs happen that you make a little bit more money, guess what? I'm buying some vegetables today.
You already know. Bro, I mean, come on, bro.
I remember you.
Where are we from, man? I mean, we're from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I bought vegetables today.
If there's anything we know how to do if being from Burque, Nuevo Mexico, is that you know how to eat beans and rice all day, dog. Like, you know how to live off of what you got to live on so that you can make shit happen. And, you know, I don't know what I even want to say after all of that, because like you just made a sick, tight little short resume of my life, you know, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of different stuff, but like at the same time, it's like, I gotta say, like, I came up starting from back early when you started this story. I came up in a restaurant family. You know what I mean? And so, like, I worked in that cafe in the Perennials restaurant for a long time, but that wasn't my family's restaurant. My family had a restaurant up in Los Alamos.
Right.
And it was called Sparky's Soda Bar. It was my grandma Rose and my grandpa Sparky.
Soda Bar?
Yeah.
But they served food, not just soda there.
Yeah, no. No. They called it a soda bar because they would do, like, shakes and malts and, like, pies. My grandpa would make all these pies and stuff. And they would make chile and have tons of enchiladas, burritos, all the combos, and this and that, and rice and beans, and just like all this amazing food, man.
Yeah.
Along with like tacos and this and that and the other, and burgers and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Los Alamos. That was the time during like the building of the atomic bomb, you know.
Wow.
So like that's like the era.
40s to 60s.
That's right. That was like the pre-planning in the mid 40s and people coming in.
Wow.
And then all the way through the late 60s, there were all kinds of foreign scientists there. I'm sure actually even longer, you know. I'm not an expert on the whole Los Alamos labs stories and all of those years and dates, but it definitely is a part of like my family's cultural history.
Yeah. It's all good, man.
As I spill this whole fucking beer.
All good, bro. It's not the first time that beer has been spilled on this carpet, nor will it be the last time.
Sorry.
That's why this beer is destined to be here, and it can receive all the beer, because guess what? This carpet happens to be thirsty, John.
All I have to say about this is like, fuck atomic bombs.
Cheers. Yeah, right.
That's what I have to say about this.
I'm going to tell you a funny story about atomic bombs, bro.
Cheers to that.
Cheers, man. John, when I was traveling, this was 2013, and it was the year that I was going to graduate, but I had come back from New Orleans and I was doing my last year of school. I would graduate in December, and I had applied the fall semester of 2012 for an arts and medicine course to go down to Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah.
And I got accepted, you know, and basically the scholarship that if you applied and you got accepted for the program, because only 7 students got accepted from the arts department, it basically paid your way down there, which was about $2,500. It was the most expensive plane ticket I've bought to this day. It's from Albuquerque, you know, red eye to New York, JFK straight over to Johannesburg, which is a 17-hour flight, the longest flight I've ever taken. And then, you know, about 3 hours or so, or I think less, from Johannesburg to Cape Town. But when I was in Cape Town, I had the amazing, wonderful opportunity to go attend a service. I mean, the whole class got to attend a Sunday service in the Anglican church. You know, the church of Archbishop Desmond Tutu is an Anglican church, not the Catholic church, but the Anglican church, which is very similar to Catholicism, but nonetheless, this cathedral that we went and saw Archbishop Desmond Tutu give a small service to, happened to be in the cathedral that downstairs they have a jazz club called the Crypt that was created by some people from Amsterdam. You know, I'm going to get the information wrong on this, so I'm not going to say what country it was started from.
You, bro.
But it was during an era where music wasn't allowed, or, you know, It was created underneath the cathedral, though, and it's still happening today, which is awesome to see. When I was just in South Africa this past September, I went again. But where I'm getting at with this whole story is in having the amazing opportunity to be in attendance and so close to this guy that fought in the apartheid movement alongside Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, when he went around and asked where all of the groups were from. He asked us, he said, "Where are you from?" And we said, "Oh, we're from Albuquerque, New Mexico." You know, we're all excited, we're all proud. He says, "Oh, yes, New Mexico, that's where the atomic bombs were tested."
Oh.
And so his relationship with New Mexico was that was where these, these incredible weapons were tested. Huh. That then did immense damage on another part of the world.
Oh yeah.
And so it was funny seeing.
Dang, that's pretty.
I mean,
intense.
it's no part of that is fun. Excuse me, but the effect of our teacher, who Dr. Patricia Repar, who brought us down there, her effect of being almost kind of offended that was the only part of New Mexico that he knew, that was where the atomic bomb was, that he had a connection with it, with being such a negative place, But
don't be offended.
That was my opinion as well, that
what
relationship.
do you know about South Africa right now?
Not only that, but like, come on now, like that is a huge thing to be connected with. And so, of course, that is going to be the only memorable thing that's going to come up in their mind of when they think about New Mexico. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, right. It made me think about Los Alamos, and you were thinking about, and you were talking about your family and the family restaurant during that time frame. And
no, I mean, that's,
I'm talking about
that's crazy, dude. I mean, what a strong sentiment to tell you and to be the one thing that you relate to and can identify with when you see this whole group of people coming over in an arts and medicine program. It's
right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. It was powerful, though, man. It was wonderful. And I was very grateful to get to do that, Huh. I was in a weird place. I joke around a lot about this. I've already talked about this on a previous podcast, but I've said for many years, for 6 years officially now, that I'm a recovering Catholic. So when I went on that trip, I had been a year, recovering from my Catholicism.
Our friend Soul would be like, "Oh God,"
and our friend Becca would be like, "Good, yeah." So where I'm getting at with this is that in that year that I went, which was 2013, and it was in 2000. It was. I had great timing, Jono. It was when I was in New Orleans, actually, in 2012, and it was Easter. I came home to see my parents.
Oh, beautiful.
During Easter.
Great.
And Easter weekend, I sat my mom and dad down outside, and I said, "Mom, Dad, I don't want to be Catholic anymore." And my mom got up and left. I don't want to hear this shit. And my dad sat down and continued to argue back and forth.
Gladys, if you're listening, I don't mean to laugh at you. I'm not laughing.
She's not laughing. Don't worry. It's all right. She's not offended. But the relationship of coming back and telling my parents that, to then the following year going with them to Colombia in June that year, in 2013, right before I went to South Africa. And I went with them to do a big family reunion on my mom's side of the family, which I adore, man. I adore both sides of my family. I've got a huge family in Colombia and here in the States. But that particular summer, we were celebrating my mom's side of the family. And so we went to a part of Colombia that's called the Eje Cafetero. And so we visit some of the cities that are famous for making some of the best coffee in Colombia. And we went to this coffee park, and it was wonderful, man. It was an amazing experience to go down there.
Coffee park, shit.
It was cool. All around amazing. But we were with the mom side of the family the whole time. We were doing all kinds of stuff, and it was a really heart. This is the way that I've explained it for many years to people. That was a very heart opening experience. Because when you're around your family, excuse me, how rude. When you're around your family, you absolutely embrace everything that your family is about, especially your grandma and your auntie and your uncles that you adore and that you only get to see every once in a while. And so when it comes to Sunday and when it comes to the priest that they bring out and they do the service, you're not going to be rude and disappear because you don't believe in the stuff, but you're going to swallow your pride and sit down and accept the stuff. And then being able to embrace that aspect of my life, which I had rejected the year before, was beautiful and allowed me to have a totally open heart experience to go down to South Africa and tell myself that I can be a child of any and every single religious experience and practice that any person around me experiences. And so what I did when I went down there in July to August of that year, 2013, after I went to Colombia, was I went to religious services every Sunday, all different types. I went to an Anglican church. I went to Episcopalian church, a Pentecostal church. I went to celebrate, prayer during Ramadan with Muslim friends of mine that were from the class, as well as another friend that I'd made that then celebrated, allowed me to come with him, invited me to come with him and celebrate with his son and his father the Eid of Ramadan. And it was such a powerful experience, man, to be down there in South Africa and open up my heart to religious experience and be able to really prepare myself. You know what I'm saying? Because since the year before, when I was in New Orleans and when I was living at this amazing art gallery in the Central Business District, just a half block off of Bourbon Street, off Canal, on Carondelet, called Parse Gallery, I happened to see this amazing documentary called DMT, the Spirit Molecule. And Joe Rogan narrated it. And it basically outlined this book that Dr. Rick Strassman wrote, documenting his studies that he did at the University of New Mexico in 1989, 90, 91, 92. And from learning about DMT to then going the next year, from learning about DMT to in some way realizing that as opposed to seeking spiritual experiences or teachings or learnings from a book or from a tradition, that I wanted to seek it from a spiritual experience, I went on a journey, a 1.5 year long journey, a year and a couple months, I should say, journey before I actually went to try this spirit teacher, which is dimethyltryptamine. And I was able to go to Colombia in June that year after I tried it the first time and go down to South Africa and have these incredible, not just heart-opening experiences, but also scar and wound healing experiences that allowed me to come back from Colombia, go to South Africa, come back from South Africa, and in late August have an experience that changed my life and really kind of changed the direction of everything that I thought as far as spirituality and my connection with life and meaning and practice and awareness, and it's been cool, man.
That's that's amazing, dude. That's a great thing to experience.
Yeah, man. I'm very grateful to all of the things as they happen to unfold and domino effect from being in New Orleans in 2012 to not just having a reawakening spiritually, but also having a reawakening as an artist. Because when I lived in New Orleans, man, New Orleans as a city was such a special place to me because, you meet such warm souls as Steve Lands, as Jason Weaver, as Barry Stevenson, as Jameson Ross, as Megan Stewart, as so many of the people that Alex Pena that just receive you with open arms and embrace you with their beautiful long hair like Josh Starkman. And they embrace you for who you are, as opposed to who in your mind you think people expect you to be, which at that point in my life I thought was the way I ought to act, or the direction I ought to move towards, as far as living in Albuquerque before I moved to New Orleans and thinking, okay, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to be a quote unquote jazz musician. Why? Because that's what I'm going to school for. And I went to New Orleans and it totally fucking turned my world upside down to that reality of thinking that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I am. No, I realized you are your experience, and moving to New Orleans and seeing people like our friend Jaron Amari Ansari, and learning people's stories that actually depict people coming up and having their relationship with jazz since their childhood, I mean, was a powerful experience to me that I needed to embrace what was in my childhood and what my ancestors and where I came from and who I honestly was. Mm-hmm. Because more so than asking me or presenting me with a presumption of what I ought to be or who I should be working to be if I say I'm going to be a quote-unquote jazz musician, like they were more interested in finding out who I was. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that was such a beautiful teaching, to ask myself that question honestly and go on that search, begin that search. I mean, that search continues happening every single day. We go to sleep and wake up different people, but New Orleans was such a magical time for me because I'd never lived outside New Mexico, really, and I always thought I was a city boy. And so when I moved to New Orleans, I lived right in the city.
You're from the montañas, bro. You're on Tijeras and Cedar Crest.
I'm not just from the montañas, but my mother is from the finca, bro. My mother is montañera, and my dad is from the city. But I mean, even then, it's like, I grew up in the mountains in my own experience. So for me to think that, that I was a city boy was funny, but to go and experience that was awesome. In New Orleans, because it was like I lived, right next to the streetcar, right next to not just one streetcar, but both streetcars that ran down Canal Street, or excuse me, the one that ran down Canal Street and then eventually would turn on St. Charles, or the one that ran down Carondelet Street. And so the experience of hearing the city all the time and waking up every morning and having the same bar across the street have a guy named Big Dog, or I forget his name, but something with dog. He would just bark at people dog. And yell at people to like advertise the bar. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, "Hey, come get some breakfast. You hungry? Yeah. And like, I'm gonna have my friend Ricardo Barba on, who owned and managed and ran the building that I lived at, which is Parks Gallery.
Amazing.
Ricardo's amazing. I'm actually getting his piece that he gifted me after I had his artwork in my album.
What's that piece called again? I forget. That one's really dope.
That piece is connected with my my song on the album called Sigh.
Yes,
and
for Sigh.
Ricardo Barba is an amazing guy, man. The piece that he wrote, or the piece that he created, I should say, is under a different name. I should look it up. I think it's called The Awakening. Anyways, I'll look that up
for the homies
and definitely get that out and talk to him about that when he gets on the podcast. He's going to be here in September. He's going to be in New Mexico, actually. Yeah,
he came. Yeah,
really? For reals. Because he came last time. You remember? Because he drove you and Josh back. No, who did he drive? You and Jerron.
Me and Jerron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And you guys got lost.
Oh, it was so good, yo. We got the In-N-Out burger. It was like, it was
in Dallas, or where was it?
Yeah, it was around Dallas, I believe. It was freaking awesome. Yeah. Yep.
So hold on. You got to tell me about how you guys got lost, though. You guys were just driving, chilling, and then you missed the exit to go down towards Dallas from Wichita Falls.
I don't even remember, Claudio. I remember we got lost, but I'm not really sure at what point we got lost at the moment. You know what I'm saying? Out.
Y'all got there, and you're here now.
And whichever turn it was, we were so going in conversation, and I wasn't driving at that point. So I was just hanging out, looking at Texas, and talking with Jerron and Ricardo. And
that's amazing.
I think Ricardo was driving the ship, so he was he was going for it. I don't remember where we got lost, but it was good.
It's amazing, bro. So,
I mean, you've been doing so much stuff yourself, bro. You've been talking to me about how you relate to my experience, and it just kind of opens me up to how much you have been doing yourself, dude. And that's one of the things that I just have to say relatively early on in this podcast episode, which is you inspire the fuck out of me, my bro. Dude. There's so much that I see that you do, and coming up with your mother and father out in the mountains of Tijeras, and going out there and doing all this art and music, and constantly pushing yourself to do different things and reach for new goals is really, really inspiring, bro. And like,
thank you, bro.
We come from the same high school. We come from the same city. Well, you know, I'm the true city boy.
Yeah, you're actually from New Mexico. I
actually am from like Albuquerque, the city.
And you actually really, we're going to get into that a little later, but you actually really just had someone come and show you your actual lineage and connection to New Mexico.
I don't understand it yet, but it's getting there.
That's amazing, bro.
But like, yeah.
I appreciate you though. That's
man, that has been like a huge thing for me. You know what I'm saying? Like just to see not only like one of my friends, but my best friend grow up and chase the fuck out of his dreams. That shit is inspiring. And like, to anybody out there who has never felt that, or if you have felt that and you resonate with it, like that shit is the bomb. Because it's like having your brother from another mother just totally go for you and like show you how to get it done too. But like, you're not doing the same thing. We're doing different things, but it's just like the energy that you put into it and how much like fire you put under your own ass to go out there, light that shit up and go for it. It's just like, that's a great thing, dude. And I'm glad to be able to do this podcast with you.
Hey, bro.
And I mean, you know, I get there because we've been going through like the resumes of each other's lives here. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's inspiring, bro.
I really appreciate that, man. It's been a trip. You know what I'm saying? I think both of us keep redefining what it is to live, you know, on this planet, not just, you know, like existentially, but also just like living on this planet, you know what I'm saying, as a means to an end, you know. And so when you really do put the pedal to the metal as far as like what the fuck you're going to do and how you're going to make ends meet financially and pay your bills at every end of month, which come for all of us everywhere in the freaking world, you know, is like, it's an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, to redefine what the frick goals you have as far as making money and making a living for yourself. And now more than ever is a day where you can redefine what it means to be a successful person. You know, you define what success is for yourself, but I'm saying successful within the terms of how you make money. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, there were not YouTube stars. There were not people that made money off of podcasting or whatever. I'm not making any money off of podcasting yet, but what I'm saying is that now more than ever, it's like you can grab your experience by the horns and, you know, like really define for yourself what would be the most awesome existence. And like, I'm grateful as heck that I have an amazing, you know, support system from both my mother and my father that allow me to experiment with not just being a musician, going out there, doing my own thing and traveling and putting on shows and eventually finally putting on a CD, even though my dad wanted me to put a CD out way before the time that I did. But in supporting me in everything that I wanted to do, as well as like my dad offering an example to me of what it is to be successful through his own craft and his own experience with finding meaning in life, as well as finding his own means to an end. Because he's got to pay his bills and he's got employees that work for him that he's got to upkeep and
a family.
The train, that's right. The train never stops. And so however you choose to live your existence on this plane with whatever situation you've got and circumstances you've got to uphold, it pushes you towards your goals or your like wherever you're at. You know what I'm saying? And some people are happy and some people are not. And I'm so grateful. And like I won a lottery in some ways of saying that I had amazing parents that loved me growing up. You know, I heard a podcast with a comedian talking about how her parents loved her too much, so she wishes they didn't love her as much, so she would have been a little more successful. You know.
Oh yeah, bro.
And it's true to that extent of saying that, like, when you have that support system as well as like that loving energy, you really do feel like you can do anything you want to. And with my dad having that as a motto for his own life, because that's what his mother put in his head, it's only right that it trickled down to me. And seeing my dad do the art thing, and since I graduated from UNM in 2013, I've continued trying to figure out, you know, how I'm gonna make this dream happen of living the life I want to live, of being able to go wherever I want to go on this whole planet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really honestly dream and fantasize about the idea of being able to travel as many places and as far as I can go in this world, you know? And
absolutely, dude.
Realizing that is not a hard thing if that's what your goals are and that's what your priorities are. And I realized that as beautiful as a family can be and as beautiful as marriage and relationships can be, I realized that that's not something on my agenda at the moment. Not to say that I don't love being with a woman or dream of having a woman that I can call my own one day, but realizing that what's most important to me is finding a way to express myself and be happy with what I'm doing and the amount of hours that I'm putting in to make, you know, my week's worth. You know what I'm saying? And my dad has liberated me very much so within that idea of wanting to be free to make my own living and not be a boss, not be a slave, or, you know, not be working to any boss, but be my own boss.
Yeah.
And art has been an amazing thing for that. You know, I mean, that's why this podcast is called Art Talk Music. I haven't, you know, gone into depth as to why that is, but a little bit in the intro monologue. But I mean, the idea of being birthed into art, you know what I'm saying? And then talking was the first thing that came into my existence from my parents talking to me. And then the music that came into my life. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And like, why not get in touch with all of those things? You know what I'm saying? And like, for once, you know, in my life, I feel finally grounded on my feet, even though I live a crazy life and always am like stressing out and could use more hours of sleep and have, you know, way too many energy drinks and caffeine drinks to keep me awake and going during the day because of all the things that are happening. But like, I've never been happier with what I'm doing because I'm doing these three things that I've always wanted to do. Which is make music, make my own music, and make it on my own terms. I'm starting to actually make art and put that out into the world and getting positive reception for that. And the talking aspect is a reality now. I mean, Jono, we got this podcast up and going, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I know it, bro.
Art Talk Music is finally happening. And like, you know, and like from talking about doing a podcast to talking at the Via or chilling at the Vias, you know, and years later, finally just kind of bridging this gap that I've desired to create for a long time, you know, because talking is something I love doing, you know, and being able to like go around and talk with anyone that I want to and get their story, you know. We talked about DMT earlier. I plan on going and talking to Dr. Rick Strassman, you know, because that's something I've dreamt of doing. We were just talking the other day about how you did an Alibi interview, which is a local publication here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they were kind of highlighting some of the stuff you're doing with Bubble Bath Records out of New Orleans, which is a record label, of course, that you began out of New Orleans with a bunch of amazing other partners that we'll mention a little bit later. But this guy in the interview, in the Alibi interview, told you recently that he had also interviewed Rick Strassman. And that like drove me even more to be like, yo, all right, what are you doing sleeping? Because he and I met a long time ago, and I look forward to hanging out with him and getting into a conversation and talking about a lot of stuff. But anyways, let's not talk about me anymore. Jono, what I want to know about, motherfucker, is tell me about Bubble Bath Records. Tell me about
ridiculous
what's going on, because
don't feel like you gotta like change direction, bro.
No,
I saw
bro.
you look at the clock. It doesn't matter, bro.
It ain't about the clock. It ain't about that.
It doesn't matter.
It ain't about that, bro. It's about being like super grateful to have you here, man, and realize that, like, you know, I was listening to someone talk on a podcast a while ago. I listened to a lot of podcasts recently. I don't know what's up with it, John. I'm addicted,
I don't even
bro.
know. Yeah.
But they were talking about when you listen
Mystery.
to yourself on a podcast and you listen to yourself talking too much. And that was at that moment when I just said, yo, I'm going to shut up and say, let me hear about Bubble Bath
Oh,
Records.
my
Because
God.
I really, this
so
podcast
silly.
is going to release still within the time frame of when the fundraiser is still going to be happening.
Yeah, everybody listening.
So tell me,
if you've made it this far,
if you're still with us,
let's just say if you've made it this far and you're killing it, because we appreciate the fuck out of this listen.
You're amazing.
I'm just being straight from the heart. Bubble Bath Records has a Kickstarter, and we are doing really cool stuff for all of our artists. Amazing Claudio stuff. Toulouse being one of them, and Michael Anthony being one of them. Woo. And we have so much great momentum that we've been enjoying from the beginning of this Kickstarter, the campaign start. And we've had so many people come out of everywhere, from communities here in Albuquerque, in Santa Fe, in New Orleans, in Spain, in Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And it's just been like in Martha's Vineyard. It's like, we've got support from all these hubs, and it's so cool to see that. And we are just like freaking appreciative. I myself am super appreciative, 110% from the bottom of my heart. This is just crazy to see awesome. An idea take off and take shape and feel support from it. The people for it, You
guys are halfway there right now, right?
We're over 70% there.
70% there. Woo!
Yeah.
So by the time you listen to this podcast, there'll be... So what day does it end officially, Jono?
Oh, my goodness. Right now is a tough time for me for dates. So it ends in 15 days.
In 15 days, which will be right around the 14th of August.
There we go. 14th of August.
We've still got about a week or so left in time frames for you to be able to donate and check that out. So I'm going to put some links.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some links in this podcast so you can check that out and absolutely go to donate some money if you're listening to this and if you are feeling so moved to help Jono out. I mean, this is pretty cool because
more than me. It's Bubble Bath Records.
That's right. Yeah.
It's more than me. It's definitely an idea that I had an idea about, and then I worked with people about it.
Yeah.
For others, to be exact.
Yeah.
Alex Peña, Violeta del Rio, Patricia Moscardo, and Elijah Carroll.
That's right.
And
that's right.
We together, the cinco of us, are Bubble Bath Records.
Tell us, man. That's right.
So, if you are feeling so inclined, you're supporting not just even the five of us, not just me, but it's the whole community of artists and the family of Bubble Bath. That's right. I mean, if you were to come down to New Orleans, and we're working on this, don't get me wrong. It's one of our Kickstarter rewards is that if you donate a certain amount of money, you can come down and you can take a trip down with us.
Bro, I'll drive to the Come on.
We will treat you as a show. Claudia's going to be the driver now. And
the tour guide.
You come down, hang backstage with us. We get to tour guide you all around New Orleans and check out music and culture and eat great food and just have an amazing little New Orleans mini vacay, courtesy of Bubble Bath Records and your donations. And what happens is that you're going to see this Bubble Bath Records community in full force. It's all over the place. It's crazy. The people know about it in New Orleans, and the musicians who are playing not only their own original music, what they put out on the label, they're doing that, of course, but they're also doing the music that's the New Orleans roots music.
Yeah, right.
You can see the funk music and the jazz and the traditional music, the brass band music and the Mardi Gras Indian music. Our artists are involved in all of those areas. And some of these guys like Max Moran, Greg Agide, Stephen Lands, Shea Pierre, Jason Weaver. And these guys are all the way deep and immersed in New Orleans culture and New Orleans music, and they play both the traditional stuff and they make their own music.
Right.
Right. So it's you see what an impact they have on their community and in their culture, and how they're related to Bubble Bath along with all the other artists that are on there that are doing just purely their original music.
Right.
And you see these different scenes throughout a city that's so vibrant and colorful as New Orleans, especially in its music scene, and how in all of these different realms of the music scene, there's somehow a connection to Bubble Bath Records.
Yeah.
And, I don't mean to boast or anything in that vein. I just mean to say that it's been very, very cool and freaking inspiring and super like mind-blowing to see an idea blossom into fruition and then take hold and shape and grow in a community and then keep expanding from there.
Yep.
You know?
Say it, bro.
That's and right. That shit is just really, really amazing, man.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is like we're trying to help educate people. We're educating our artists, not hemorrhaging them, not educating, educating. We're educating our artists, and we want to teach everybody who's involved with Bubble Bath Records and part of the scene how to properly understand the music business and the music industry, especially in such a crazy evolving time like right now in 2018, you know?
Yeah, you're aiding them with the tools that will absolutely help all of us with our careers. I mean, me, myself, I've had so many benefits already in the time that I've been with Bubble Bath Records and learn how to not just understand all of the publishing and copyright aspect of what it is to record a sound recording or the actual composition and lyrics of the song. I mean, it's all important stuff to aid yourself with, especially going into today's market, because
publishing, copyright, trademarking, all these things that are part of what it means to own your own material.
Without a doubt, and have your own publishing company. How powerful it is to have your own publishing company and be able to put things out and register them and have that connection and own all of those rights. So whenever the day comes, or if the day comes, hopefully knock on wood, it is not that you have to fight with people in court, but you have all of those, stones unturned as far as being prepared, and
exactly. Some people talk about learning, if you want to do, they won't take a new artist that doesn't have their own publishing. That does have their own publishing. They won't take an artist that has their own publishing. And a lot of people run into this, especially like when you're trying to make a deal in a major label.
Yeah.
They want to have the complete control of the publishing so they can make all the money off of the royalties of it and the reproduction. And so when you go there with your own publishing, it's going to offend people. They're not going to like it. Especially in those big money situations. But what we have to say is that you can always make a deal, baby. It is indeed capitalism throughout this whole country and sadly run rampant around the world. And here we go. This is part of the music industry. Yeah. You need to know that this is a possible thing. That just because they don't like it doesn't mean that you can't own it. And for our artists, we want to teach them how to properly navigate that whole conversation and that entire limbo area that a lot of people get wrapped up in, which is the music industry lingo speak, I should say a business deal navigation. And
Right. You're so right, man. And beyond that, it's like you encourage your artists, I felt, to empower themselves by not just learning about all of these aspects of their industry and their business, but also learning how it is that really you take control of those things and understanding what the heck those things are. You know what I'm saying? I'm lying if I said that I still couldn't, totally understand or explain to people the aspect of publishing and copyright and what the differences of registering your song versus the sound recording versus the actual composition and lyrics, but I'm learning more and more about that. And had I not had the opportunity to work with Bubble Bath Records and then you push me, Jono, to learn about those things and go study and do my own research to aid myself with the ability to go apply through my company that I'm registered with, which is BMI, to have my own publishing company and have Claudio Toulouse Music Publishing be a reality that's out there. And not just nowadays learn about that for my music, but you guys have aided me with the tools to learn and empower myself to now have my own LLC and my own business license to have Claudio Toulouse Fine Art. Mm-hmm. And that's how I've been managing my business and paying my taxes as far as the artwork that I sell and that aspect of my livelihood. Because
Great, that's awesome.
Empowering yourself to aid yourself and not expect anyone else to do the things for you, but you yourself go out and prepare yourself to to succeed in whatever it is that you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And not just succeed, but how to success comes from preparation. And preparation comes from educating yourself, right?
Yes, indeed.
And Bubble Bath Records, I'm so grateful you guys do this. Certainly has done that for me, you know. And
thanks, dude.
And I think
glad to have you on board, bro.
I thank you personally for that. You know what I'm saying? Because you always encourage me to empower myself, and I'm sure a lot of the other Bubble Bath Records artists feel like feel similar to what I'm talking about, and I hope that they continue empowering themselves more, because each one of us has so much to learn continually. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't ever stop.
No, it doesn't. Definitely never stops.
Yeah, bro. So, John, tell me about what's up with you, man. What's up with Juan Tigre? And what's up with, like, when the heck is Juan Tigre's, like, official album? I know you put out a mixtape, kind of unofficially, quote unquote, you know what I'm saying? But, like, and you've put some songs out and stuff like that, but, like, what is your what is your plan? Or when do you honestly see yourself putting out a Juan Tigre album, full length or EP or whatever you know?
Well, I want to go into the studio with Juan Tigre this fall, and working hard to secure those dates, save up the money to get into the studio and make that happen and make that a reality right now. So the little mini EP that I released that I am selling here live, physical copies only, while I'm doing this trip here in New Mexico and then going out to the West Coast, is just something that I've been recording in my bedroom and like working on. So it's all demos and just kind of like, to give people an idea of what the music that's in my head has been sounding like lately. And I've been working on a lot of music, but what you can expect from it is like a very different audio visual experience and like more narrative type story that encompasses this idea of Juan Tigre and this character that goes through lots of different changes as he has to discover that he has to leave his home in order to find help his community. And the only way he can communicate with people is through a language that they can understand, where they speak different languages. And so his medium becomes quickly music.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he goes around and travels around and gets the right pieces to the puzzle and finds and talks to the right people to get to be able to like bring the right things that he needs back home to help his community, Yeah. And that becomes the overarching story of this Juan Tigre character. And so like I have a bunch of different music and like animations and like visual elements and components that are set up to accompany a narrative about this. And I'd like to work on turning that into like a cartoon, comic series, and also like maybe video game type of interactive experience.
That's awesome. That is so cool, Jono.
Oh, thanks, dude. I'm working on it and like meeting the right people all the time. And just working out the music
little by little,
paso a paso.
Yeah, bro.
It's kind of a thing I've been thinking about for a long time, but I've been slowly putting all those pieces together. And just like with Bubble Bath, it like takes a lot of foresight and planning and just like getting the right key elements and people together.
Right.
Never underestimate it. I mean, it's all about the people, and so like you need the right people to be together.
Yeah, the effort definitely comes from
and
more
timing.
Than one. Yeah, you're right, bro. And timing. And the amount of time you put in.
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing for us as like people who are living monetarily off of our creative juice.
Right.
Which is, in this day and age, you need to be very, very involved in the promotion and marketing aspect of what it is that you're doing creatively in order to enjoy success monetarily enough to survive and keep on doing it. And for lots of people, that includes feeding their families. And for lots of people, that includes paying a mortgage. And lots of people, that's a car payment on top of all of that.
Yep. Yeah, say it. Preach.
And, this is, it's difficult to be able to get into the routine of working for yourself and for your immediate family and community. It's a difficult switch because I think culturally we are so like imbued with this idea that like once you're done with high school, you can just like kind of like go get a job and start living.
Right, of course.
Get out of your parents' house and go live how you want to live. But like, where does the conversation go from there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to judge or summarize all of American culture into one thing, but that's something that I definitely grew up with and see from so many people that I grew up with, which is like the conversation didn't really go much more from there.
Right.
People always ask you when you're a kid and a teenager, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what do you want to do when you get out of high school? You want to college? What do you want to study in college? You know, these natural, like, what do you want to be?
Always like you should already have everything lined up. It's like, and if you don't, it's like, you're fucking up. You don't know?
You're right.
What you gonna do with your life?
Of course you
get
don't
your
know.
life,
I mean,
son.
Like, my goodness.
Come on now. But it's like that's the way that people are always kind of like trained to go about quizzing you as to where you're at, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, like, couple of thoughts off of that. It's like, you know, you need the right people to have in your little circle that are going to ask you, what are you thinking about long term? What are you doing in 5 years, 10 years? What
That's
do you
important.
think about? You know what I mean? And if like, even if you just have to fish for an idea of what that might be and be like, shit, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, but like, shit. It's like, well, what do you think? And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I like this, like on a deep level, I guess, like I'm interested in this. And like, when you have those people around that can even like pose that question to you, it's important, you know, to have them around because like it changes your mentality and the way that you're seeing time in your brain.
That's a catalyst because that person asking you that question in some ways has to be, I mean, it has to affect you more than just the immediate result of you reacting to that question. But then later in hindsight, maybe a day or a few days later, a few weeks later, looking back to say, fuck, well, really, where am I going in 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You might not, it's like you said, you might not be able to answer it in the moment, but that's okay. Let's just like to have that person that poses the question.
Yes. That being the catalyst that hopefully can push you in a different direction. And you're right. You know, those people are invaluable. Like those people, invaluable, that's the right word, right? Those people are a treasure, you know. Holding on to those people around your life as far as inspiration beyond just watching them do things, but also having them challenge you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's tight, you know. Having someone that, you know, pulls you aside and says, hey, bro, listen, like, you got to work on your time, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard
Thank you, Asher Barreras, who did that for me.
Asher's amazing, you know. There's a lot of musicians that have helped me in that specific
me too.
thing. Right. But those people are invaluable, man. Those people are treasures, you know. And honesty. Having that opportunity to have someone in your life that bears the truth to you in a way that other people are scared to do, you know. And it's awesome, you know. It's
I know, it's probably the most valuable thing for me personally is like the people who are willing to be like, yo, you're fucking up. And it's like, what did you just say? And it's like shocking, and the ego takes this huge like
yeah
boom, shots fired, and you're like, whoop, 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 as Joseph Scott would say. And you just like, yo, what are we what? And you get ready to be like uncomfortable with someone confronting you with something that you did wrong,
right,
or that you did that was insensitive or like not empathetic, and you were just like completely self-absorbed and your ego was full, and you just needed to get a quick dose of reality. That shit is important. And you know, I have been lucky to have people in my life like yourself who give me that. And you know, I have always kind of been a person that will tell you the truth. I will tell you the truth. And if you ask me, I'm not a dude that will like, beat around the bush. Like I'm just like a straight shooter type of dude. And I grew up with that in a lot of ways. And sometimes people think I'm a little too like blunt and blunt. And I know that's true. I can be very, very like overly direct and blunt. And I've been trying to work on that in terms of like my delivery of saying the truth that people don't want to hear.
Sure.
And understanding that like not everybody grows up with people that just like say that shit right off their,
off
first
the
thing
cuff,
off the cuff. Right.
Right.
So it's been an education, especially
that's so funny
working with a lot of artists. You know what I'm saying? Like
we're very sensitive people.
Yes. And rightfully so. They're expressing the commentary of the world around them at the moment and like informed by the past and looking towards the future, but living in the present. There's a lot of times that their time and feeling of not just musical time to say musical time, but like their feeling in between thinking of future, past, and present so often and interchanging them where maybe some things in the present world aren't quite taken care of. And when you say that to them, you need to be a little understanding of where they're coming from.
That's right.
And I'd be like, yo, that thing that you were supposed to turn in did not happen, and where the fuck is it? Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. I'm learning this, Claudio. Slowly.
Accountability, man. Yeah.
And having people keep
That's
you
right.
accountable.
That's right, man.
That keep me accountable.
You've pointed this out to me before. I mean, how powerful it is having someone that challenges you to get better and constantly grow. You know what I'm saying? That whole aspect of life and choosing the people around you is a very serious lesson. I mean, my mother used to tell me when I was young, let me see the people that are surrounded, that are around you, and I'll tell you who you are. And that's a reality because who you surround yourself with says volumes about where you're at in your life at that moment. And it's not to speak bad about the people that are around you, but it is to speak to the influence that your surrounding has upon you and the influence that people around you have on you. And it's definitely an awesome thing to, be around great people, man.
Yes, indeed, dude.
Yeah.
It's true. My mom didn't grow up telling me that the exact same way, but like, she was always kind of like, look out for who your friends are.
Yeah.
Don't keep friends who don't help you to get to the next step. When you notice that your friends around you are like uncomfortable with you taking next steps, you need to look at who your friends are.
Right.
And it was kind of like, yeah, okay.
That's awesome, man.
And not to say that I like leave people behind or anything like that, but it's just like you grow into like knowing more about what it is that you value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like we have friends of all different kinds, of like all different walks of life and beliefs and like, backgrounds, histories, ages, colors, creeds, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not to say that like any one of them is any more or less valuable than the other. It's just that like once you start to discover more of like who you are yourself, you start to resonate a lot more clearly with the people who are really on the same level as you in what you personally believe in.
Well,
and you're working towards and you're...
Yeah, you're totally right, man. And even more so than people that are on your same level, it's just that people that are speaking to their own truths and recognizing that you're speaking to your own truth for whatever that is.
Right. We all organize into our own little patterns and our own little frequencies. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, we each our own thing, man. Yeah.
That's okay. That's the way it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to
resonate with you and do what you do the best that you do it.
You do you.
And you will go naturally to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's one of those things that is a universal truth that I accept, that I have learned from a lot of really, really great people and mentors and like just like people who I notice that are great at living fucking life. It's just like, what'd you say you were doing? You're like traveling this and this and this, and you're like on your motorcycle and like, what about that? And like, you love your job, or like, oh my gosh, and you got a baby? What? Oh my goodness. Whatever it's going to be, you know, whatever variation it's going to be. You can just see people that are just like living the shit out of their lives.
Right.
And that shit is...
It's inspiring.
It's inspiring. It's the way to like... For me, it was just like seeing so many people live their lives to the fullest and like really put a lot of attention and detail into like how they live, and they enjoy it so much.
That's right, man.
Effort that they put into it and the quality of life that they get back.
I mean, when you're doing things that way and when you're truly living the life that you love, you're not working a day in your life.
That's right. That's totally real.
That's a powerful thing that New Mexico has opened up for my father and now for me. And I love traveling, and I look forward to living in other cities, but I love being here in Albuquerque, man, because the connection with New Mexico in general and Santa Fe and the art community here is something that I treasure and I value and I'm inspired by. And it continually offers me the opportunity to push myself to go out there and do my thing. You know what I'm saying? Because we each have to figure out how we can make ends meet, you know? Excuse me. I was speaking with a dear friend of ours who was telling me how frustrated he was about his situation of traveling and being abroad and doing all these amazing, illustrious shows, but just still not really making ends meet. And that frustration for him being a reality, as well as realizing that all of us as musicians, we're always struggling in all of our situations, even musicians as we see them in our old age. And I love having, you know, all my life I've had relationships with older musicians. You know, like I've always adored and sought out those relationships, go hang out outside of music, like actual gig interactions with a guy like Peter Mall or a guy like Dave Bryan or a guy like, you know, Eddie Garcia or whoever it was in that time frame that I really admired the way that they played the instrument and wanted to learn more about their story and spend time with them, you know, like Stu Sacco or like, you know, Jim Magnorella. And creating that relationship with someone that inspires you and having what in their life is inspiring them and driving them to do what they're doing inspire you in some ways. And specifically with those two stories of those two last guys, is Jim Magnorella and Stu Sacco were guys that at the end of their lives reached towards the bucket of creativity and creating their own music, and that being the largest expression. Why? Because when you die, that stays here. And that is here forever. And realizing that with these guys inspired me so much to truly take action towards not just having some original music, but getting serious about my original music. And when those two deaths happened, when Jim Magnorella passed and when Stu Sacco passed, those things affected me in a serious way, where I knew that if I didn't move in this direction, that I wouldn't be paying them my respect of following that dream that all of us musicians have, is of being able to birth something ourselves. Maybe not all, but for sure me and a lot of the friends that I've had that have that relationship and that love for music and having their own stamp and relationship with having something that is there beyond them, beyond their existence, you know? It's definitely also a reason that I've gotten serious about getting this podcast off the road in the past couple of weeks and months and the past year, because so many friends that I want to get on the podcast from a KUNM series that, you know, I got a hold of when you and I were in high school, which was called Jazz of Enchantment. It was put out by KUNM, and it was highlighting and spotlighting some of the local jazz legends that we have here in New Mexico, or that are associated or connected with New Mexico.
I remember listening to that.
Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah, dude,
amazing.
of course.
It's amazing. interview series, and this podcast really pushed me forward to want to capture that and want to get into the practice of regularly getting conversations out into the world. I mean, why? Not because I feel like, my opinion is the most beautiful, valid thing that people are going to die to download and podcast. It's like, no, it's just because like I want to try and capture like awesome opportunities to talk about things with creative people from all walks of life. You know what I'm saying? From someone like you who's been my best friend since you grew up, and also been someone who I've admired musically since we've grown up and since before we really became acquainted. And so having every single person on is an opportunity for me to highlight and spotlight this person that has inspired me in some way, and try and pick their brain about their creative process. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. John, I'm going to have to call you out and say that we set up this whole, input thing here for your phone to be connected. And I really, really want to hear some original music. You were playing some stuff earlier, bro, and talking about, putting some stuff out and this mixtape that you put out and stuff like that.
I did. I was talking about it.
I would love to hear some stuff, and I know that the people out there would love to hear some stuff. I know we're going to be putting some stuff out there for people to hear. Excuse that little noise there.
It's all good.
Of course, people are going to enjoy what the music is, what's happening here, and what Jono's been up to, and what's to come for Jono. And what you got for us, Jono?
Clappy. All right, I'm going to put on this song that is called...
no, not that one.
Yeah,
no,
you're right. Not that one. I'm going to put on this song that doesn't really have a full title yet, but it's called Jupiter at the moment. It's just instrumental.
Awesome.
All right. song.
What was that, bro? Tell us about that, man.
That was a song of mine that I've been working on called, for lack of a better title right now, it's just titled Jupiter. And it's just a demo, it's like my like backing track demos while I work out a bunch of other things about it. But
I have a question
it's
for you.
It's been fun to play that song.
So since I've known you and since I know that songwriting for you, not always, but sometimes happens to accompany lyricism. So how often would you say, maybe out of like 5 compositions or out of 10 compositions, you know what I'm saying? Just guesstimating here. Would you say are compositions that eventually have lyrics and that aspect of the song as opposed to just being instrumental as we just heard?
I guess like it always depends.
Right, but
sorry.
like that song, like that last song.
Yeah.
Like, will there be lyrics?
I hear lyrics on that song, yeah. So I've been like working that out and working out the orchestration and arrangement.
Right.
Of how to accompany those lyrics and like where.
So, but like realistically, like, all right, let's say if we were to play like 4 songs or 5 songs of those songs that I saw you strolling down through in your little list of Google Drive.
A lot of them have lyrics.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I could play another one for you does have lyrics.
How many? Oh, I would love that, bro.
Sure.
But what I'm wondering is how many times would you say, and more recently, more so than I'm saying before, talking about your whole relationship with songwriting in general. It's like how much more so in the past 2 to 4 years would you say has your songwriting been connected with lyrics? Like, are all the songs that you write like connected with lyrics? Because for me, they're like nowadays, like I hear something over everything. Like I can't write something without. Like I have ideas that I've written a long time ago that I haven't revisited, that still need some ideas that I have ideas over, but that I'll still bring to some genius mind like Joseph Scott to be like, okay, I got an idea, Yeah. And I love it when he does that and when we do that, and that has happened recently. But what is it for you, man? In the past 2 to 4 years, what do you think it's been?
I think for me, I guess it's been like more important recently, I've been learning how to use my voice as an instrument and put that as a part of the thing that I do all the time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And sing a lot more and speak a lot more and be a little more like conscious of the things that I say and how I say them. Now, I'm still going to let loose and be me. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, how to use your voice for what you're doing and like how to sing a song and like deliver a song, not just sing it, but like to deliver a song. And like, who are people that have great, impeccable delivery, So like thinking about lyrics accompanying the music and how like natural lyrics just sort of like pop into your head when you're listening to an instrumental piece sometimes. I think that happens not only to just myself and musicians, but that happens to anybody where you're just like hearing the instrumental and like the intro to a song, like, and you just immediately start hearing your own thing over it. You start saying your own words of the day over it and like your own experiences of what you're just doing. Like for me, I even memorize other people's freaking songs by just being like, meow, 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 meow. And I'm like, I'll be like, this is so crazy. And I just remember, like, if I got to learn a lot of music in 1 week, then I will like make up my own words to it if it's instrumental and just like freaking always know that this is y'all crazy. I'll know that song. Oh yeah, I know that song. Sure. And I don't know. I think it definitely goes a lot of different ways. But for me, more recently, yes, it's accompanied a lot more.
I remember when I went, I think I was fresh out of university, or maybe I was still at the university, and I remember it had been maybe a year or 2 years or 3 years or something like that after you had left the time that you were at, Chicago. Obviously, you were only there for your freshman year of quote-unquote university, but the gentleman that you study Brazilian music with, whose name is
Paulinho Garcia.
And it was hilarious. You know, the story that I always tell people is that you used to imitate his voice. You've always had this knack for being able to imitate people's voices. But this guy's voice, I didn't truly know how close you had gotten to imitating his voice whenever you'd call me and tell me about, or I'd call you and you'd tell me about lessons with him and you'd imitate his voice, until I went to Chicago and did this art show with my father on Michigan Avenue, right in front of the Trump Towers, in front of, anyways, in this area downtown that I had the opportunity in being downtown in Chicago and being in that area to call him up and get a lesson with him, that he came down, and from the second he received me to like the first couple minutes of him talking was just like, oh my God, does this sound like John Maestas or what? But the relationship, you know, between, you know, y'all, like you being able to copy his voice was just amazing. But really what I'm getting at is that he talked about deciphering like songs and like sometimes like listening to a melody and putting your own chords to it. Mm-hmm. And that way of like approaching a song, or like even
yeah, he's awesome at that, dude. He's
like,
an incredible guy. Like that, Paulinho was one of those dudes that was just like having the most fun with music. Yeah. And that's what I really like gleaned from him. He was just like, it's very simple chords, you know? Like, look, it's very simple. Yeah.
Scott Myers, where you at?
Like, he was totally just like in it, having the most fun, like looking at me wide-eyed, smiling. I freaking love hanging out with Paulinho and playing guitar, man. Like, that was one of the most fun experiences of my whole life. And he was just the bomb.
Yo, speaking of Chicago, side note,
he's always the coolest.
How often did you go to Uno or Dos out there?
Not that many times, because I had like I went
out
to
deep dish places.
Yes, yeah, I had definitely had deep dish more than a few times out there, of course. But like
in the year that you were there, right?
I had a friend that worked at Pizzeria Dos, or Due, they called it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and like
Uno and Do.
Yeah,
Dua.
Right. Whatever
it is.
It's Due, I thought.
Anyways,
Do.
I know I'm probably getting it wrong. You're probably closer to that.
But yeah, I had a friend that worked over there. And it was cool. I would go over there sometimes. But Giordano's was the bomb diggity. Giordano's was right over off of South Michigan. It was really close.
Yeah, Chicago's an amazing city as well, man. Very cool place. The big old beautiful chrome beam that's out there.
I know, yeah.
Gorgeous plaza. Right up on
Millennium Park.
On
Grant
Michigan.
Park.
Lake, right? What is it?
South Michigan Avenue, yeah. Claudio, we need to stop this interview because we need to do this again.
We need to do this again,
hella
bro.
Rough.
No, it is not hella rough, bro. Chicago, really what I'm getting at is that it's an amazing city, bro, because not just is the amazing, like, awesome tradition of blues and music there, like, so rich, and every time I go there, I always try and find out about that by going to record stores or stopping by like the Buddy Miles Club or the BB King Club or whatever. You know, it's like those things are like so. I probably totally got that wrong. You're laughing at me like I got that wrong. Like, of course it's in the wrong city. I think it is the Buddy Guy Club. That's the one that I'm thinking about. That's close to Roosevelt. That's the one that I'm thinking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And seeing like not just that, but seeing the atmosphere every time I go there of just imagining, for me personally, I'm speaking about, is the experiences that you had when you were there. You know what I'm saying? Like the train being right there and you walking underneath the train and it's freaking loud ass, you know, like, dude. Like running over those steel pillars that it's on, you know, it's just crazy. It's just like such a city that is, I mean, you hear about it in the news over the past however many years it's been since you've been there, and realizing all of the dangerous aspects of Chicago. But being there, it's amazing and inspiring, and it's historic.
No, it's an awesome,
you know?
Yeah, it's an awesome, amazing city.
Being in that whole area of the country is just inspiring in general. Like Philadelphia, like I just got to know that area of the country just this past year, and it was awesome. It was so cool. I did not know. I was ignorant. Into the fact that Philadelphia was our nation's first capital, and learning about that, as well as just being in the city and going to some of the staples of the city and some of the musical parts of the city, was awesome. Mm-hmm. I loved it, man.
That's where Hakeem's from.
That's right, man.
Philly.
Yeah, it's a place that I'll be going to in September, and I really look forward to that. Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, that whole area of the country I'll be going to really soon. And I'm excited because I'm going to be doing a lot of podcasts out there. I'm taking this whole setup out on the road. John will just help me set up this whole new setup that I got going on over here. But I'm going to be taking it on the road with me and doing a lot of podcasts with a lot of artists at these art festivals that I'm doing. Because
hell to the yeah.
One thing of doing art festivals is it's funny whenever you run into artists that you're doing the art shows with at the same hotel. And so I know that's going to be a simple thing for me to just kind of make it happen, to make those podcasts happen out there in Chicago and in Philly and in New York.
Do it like the hotel lobby,
man. Oh, yeah, like bro. Or outside of the coffee shop, man.
Outside of the coffee shop. Maybe not
vibe,
the hotel lobby. Yeah. It's kind of like...
Hotel lobby's going to be like... Ding, 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 ding. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be really fucking tight, though.
It's going to be awesome, man. Yeah.
I have to pee and get a beer.
So we're going to put a pause real quick on this podcast, and we will be right back. So we're back.
Yes.
Of course, pee breaks are always necessary. It's nice to get a little time off.
Nice to get a little time off, indeed.
Yo, man, so...
Excuse me, miss. Can I go to the bathroom?
Miss, I need to go to the bathroom, please.
I need to use the bathroom. She's like, it's the restroom. And my name is Miss Lopez. You've been having me in class all year.
You should know my name. What I wanted to say was, John, you're about to go up north, man. You're about to go up just kind of like to travel, man. It's nice to get away sometimes from the place that you live and currently occupy year round, But you're about to go up to Cali, about to go up to Seattle. Oh, goodness. I'm so jealous, man. I've been wanting to go to Washington.
I've never been there, so I'm like super pumped to go up there. I'm going to go see my cousin over in Portland, Oregon.
Sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be awesome.
And I'm going to go see Rex, my friend Rex Gregory over in Seattle.
Amazing.
My friend Julie McDonough.
Oh, yeah. Bassist. And Michael Glenn, of course.
Of course. And Lisa. Yep. There's going to be there's actually a lot of cool musicians and friends up there in Seattle. So
it's awesome.
That's going to be awesome to say what's up to them.
Amazing time. Yeah. So it's awesome to get around to travel, but I mean, it's also awesome when you got new wheels, I've been in working and stuff like that. I've definitely been looking forward to trying to save up to get some new wheels for my trip down to Florida. I've been in the past couple of years going down to Florida every winter time when the season of the snowbirds, as they're called, from up in the northern East Coast in southern Canadian part, come down south and go to Florida. And there's an amazing art season that just happens all over southern Florida from late December into February and March. And so I'm excited, man. I've been making a bunch of pieces and stuff for the contemporary Hispanic market that just happened this past weekend, last weekend in July. And I'm going to take a bunch of my art pieces out there to Florida.
Nice.
And I'm looking to try and purchase myself a vehicular, like a nice van that I can fit all of my artwork in so I can drive it all the way down there. Because the reality is that I'd like to do more than one show. And I got to have my stuff down there in a place and not just leave it in a storage unit or something like that and move around with the U-Haul, which could be an option, but I am shooting to work hard and save up my money to try and get myself a nice van. Not a nice van, but I mean a used van, I should say, that can get me down there and get me back and at least work for me for a little while to do some shows, you know. It's always nice to get out, you know, and finding an opportunity to work, be it working with teaching people about how to, you know, sell water systems or like, you know, learning how to sell people on a sculpture, you know. And it's cool, man. It's always great to get around the country and get to know different parts of this country because there's so much to know, you know. There's so much to see. There's so much to experience. And there's so much to learn about. And our country's an amazing place to do that, you know.
It is.
That trip to New Orleans, I always joke to people that I've gone almost every single way that you can go, you know. Except
from the north, from the south, from the middle, from the top, from the bottom, from the left, from the right.
I've gone on a plane and freaking come back in a rental car. I've gone on a rental car. I've gone in the Greyhound was probably the roughest of the experiences.
Oh, yeah.
But I love traveling, man. You know, getting around the country. And Texas really is not that bad. People talk about driving through Texas and that there's not anything in Texas, but I disagree. There are some beautiful aspects of Texas towards the end of it.
As you're leaving it, it's very beautiful. I'll agree.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I like Texas too. I'm just fucking around.
Where's somewhere you'd like to go to in the next year and a half? I know our friend Sol in Spain would really love us to go out to Rotterdam to do the North Sea Jazz Festival with her next year, right?
Yeah.
What's on your agenda? What would you dream of?
Would love to go see her out there in North Sea Jazz Festival for sure. Yeah, I would like miss hanging with Sol, you know, and she was like, "You guys better be ready to go." And it's like, yes, you're right. All right, I gotta plan this shit. So definitely want to keep that on the forefront of like, yo, what's up? Yeah. Like, let's go see what we can do out in Rotterdam next year. And I want to go to. I have a few places on my list. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do want to go to Brazil. I love Brazilian culture, and I love that, you know, and I have really been interested in that for a long time. I want to go check out more of like, just like, I've never been. I've learned some cool things about it, about the music, about the culture, and a little bit of the Brazilian Portuguese, and I just like want to check that out. Then, like, something keeps calling me out to, of course, you know, somewhere, like, more Caribbean. And, like...
okay.
A lot of people keep talking to me about Hawaii. Ooh. And, like, being out there. So I was kind of, like, thinking I have a connection out there.
That would be nice.
It'd be pretty cool to go check that out.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to go out to... Well, I want to go out to a cool place out in Arizona called Walpi, which is where it's like really high desert.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first settled Native American civilizations here in the Southwest. The Hopi Indians, the Hopi Native Americans settled there. And it's like really, really, really crazy. Totally like high up in the desert. Like, and they still have a community up there. It's one of those like really cool civilizations to see here in the Southwest, you know?
That sounds awesome.
So I would love to check that out. And then on the opposite spectrum, I would love to go check out Tokyo. Woo! So like, I don't know, but if I can do any of that in like any or all of that in the next year and a half, but those are like some those are some places that I really want to check out.
That's the idea is where would you like to go? Not where do you have the money or where are you actually planning
Zimbabwe. Woo! Zimbabwe is like definitely a place I want to go check out.
Awesome. I dream of going to Mali. I'd love to go there when Sam Dickey is
me too.
Our friend.
Yeah,
my co-birthday mate.
Yeah.
He and I share the same birthday.
September 14th.
He's a year older than me, but amazing guitar player living in New Orleans right now, but traveling all over the world with some amazing acts. Most recently, Fatoumata Diawara, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah,
amazing awesome singer and guitar player. But you know, it's inspiring. You know, having that connection and traveling out to New Orleans and seeing you there and doing your thing out there, and beyond, being inspired to do what you want to do, seeing you take action and take matters into your own hands, and with the awesome group of people that you found around you, aka Alex Pena, Elijah Carroll, Patsy, and Señorita Vivi, in the Bubble Bath family, like it's amazing, bro. It's amazing, and it's inspiring seeing what they've been doing for the community and the creative young community. I say young, but I'm young, you know what I'm saying? I am part of all of us Bubble Bath artists that are reaching and dreaming of a bigger tomorrow and a brighter future for us to continue doing what we love, And I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for
Thanks, dude.
Friends like you, and being surrounded by people like y'all in my life, and having the awesome opportunity to go back to New Orleans all the time. I have a trip, that I'm owed to New Orleans, so I think I will be out there in February. I'll be out there within this next month, which is August, and hopefully I'll get a podcast in with another one of the Bubble Bath members, Mr. Alex Pena, who I've been meaning to get on the podcast, as well as an amazing gentleman that was one of the founders of Bacchanal, Mr. Bo, and it's gonna be awesome, man. I got a lot of stuff planned for this these next couple of months and stuff like that. Jono, what you got? What you got when you get back to New Orleans, man? What you got going on in September and October? Anything exciting that you can think of off the top of your head? I know it's late night. We're already a couple drinks in, so I know you probably got the stuff way far out of your mind.
No. I know.
You got your phone next to you.
There's a bunch of crazy new music happening in September.
Tell me about Bubble Bath stuff. That's right. Tell me about what's happening.
There's a bunch of new releases that are happening in September, October, November.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we've been gearing up for with the whole Kickstarter program.
Yes.
And I should say Kickstarter campaign. And we've been gearing up to promote and hire PR for our fall releases. We have 9 bands that are releasing new albums this fall. And so in order to really give them a shot at making some noise and cutting through all of the stuff that just really isn't what you want to hear, but you're looking for that special something. And for this to get a chance to get that to you, the listener, we need to promote their albums and use the help of some really great PR agencies that we've been talking with to pump their albums out to the people and get them out into the world.
It's awesome. Tell me about some of the releases, who is going to be putting some stuff out. I know recently I've absolutely enjoyed Greg Ajit's album Jams that's recently come out with Josh Stockman, AJ Hall, and Max Moran. That's an amazing group that has been playing for many years at their regular gig at the Maison on Frenchman Street every Tuesday. If you happen to be in New Orleans from 6 to 9, is that right? Something like that?
6:30 to 9:30 over at the Maison.
Yeah.
Central Standard Time.
But tell me, can you think off the top of your head, what are some of the other artists that we can expect some stuff from in the next couple of months in the fall?
You can expect new releases from Trench, our dreamscape grunge rock band.
Yes.
From Max Moran and Neospectric, who's funk, jazz, soul, R&B mix. And rock in there too. I can't lie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we have releases from a band named Nebula Rosa, which is kind of an indie rock, alt Latino sort of vibe, And then we have, let me see who else is releasing. Cliff Hines with his band named Cliff.
Cliff's been doing some awesome stuff. That's KLYPH.
That's right. KL_PH.
That's right. Yen sign. Yeah.
Yep. He'll be releasing a new album.
What about Christina Morales?
Christina Morales, how could I forget? She's definitely releasing a new album.
Can't wait, man. She's an amazing singer.
She is. She's an amazing vocalist. And I have the pleasure of performing with her at the Spotted Cat in New Orleans every Sunday.
Yeah, my favorite gig to see on Sunday
September,
nights.
when I get back, I'm definitely looking forward to playing with her.
Oh, yeah.
Getting back to, like, the swing of performing all the time in New Orleans,
I love it. I love it, bro. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, Mr. Ryan Montano? Mr. Ryan Montano's peeking his head in towards the end of the podcast. What's up with you, my man?
It's all good.
It's all
You're just
good,
guessing.
bro. You guesting. You making a guest appearance. What's up with you, bro? How you doing over there, my man? Oh, yeah. We're going to take a little pause and we're going to get Mr. Ryan Montano up here. Hold on one second. So we're with Mr. Ryan Montano. And
you started that off with
we were talking about, Bubble Bath Records artists and all the releases that are coming out, We're talking about Christina Morales. We didn't mention yet, but Miss Megan Stewart is coming out with some stuff. Who else is coming out with Stewart?
Is that the chick that was on The Voice?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
She's got a good voice, though.
She does have a great voice, and so does Christina.
Amazing voice. So what?
So many people are releasing records, Claudio.
I'm so excited,
There's
man.
a bunch of cool shit
BubbleBathRecords.com is where you can go check that stuff out.
That's right.
And you can really delve into what's going on, with Bubble Bath Records and what's happening in New Orleans. Mr. Ryan Montano is with us.
Hello.
Yeah. What is happening with you, Mr. Montano?
Just living life.
Yeah.
Walked in on you guys.
Oof.
7 beers of marble.
Hey.
Double white polished off. And
you forgot a teen in there. True. 17 beers.
17. I was impressed
Come
by
on
you
now,
guys.
bro.
All these
Thank
empties over here.
Come on now.
Nah, but.
We don't mess around.
Nah, dude. You shouldn't.
It's real life up here in this guy.
We ain't messing around.
That's Claudio. For everybody keeps wondering why we keep mumbling or moaning. That's Claudio. Be like, bro, he go, yo, Montano, how's your day? And I'll be like, man, and I'll go into a story. I'll tell him like, I did this, I did A, B, C, D, and he goes, that's like his son was like, yeah, man, that means like a lot of things. Like, get it. It means like get it. It means good job. It means like, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting little.
You know where that comes from?
Tell him. Tell him.
Two different things. It's from Joseph Scott.
Thank you.
It's from Joseph Scott, who is an amazing singer here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Singer, composer, vocalist, badass, writer, and lyricist. And lyricist and vocalist for Citizens of Tape City, who are also signed to Bubble Bath Records, who are also releasing new music this fall.
COTC.
And anyways, Joseph Scott got that. He would do it all the time. I'd be like, yo, so I heard you had a sick gig the other night. Like, it was tight? And he was like, I was like,
what are you doing?
Yo, what? And he was
right.
You never seen Regular Show? And I was like, Regular Show? And Regular Show blew my mind. Thank you, Joseph Scott, for blowing my mind with both Adventure Time and Regular Show.
Is that like sketch comedy or what?
No, it's actually like kids' cartoons that are so amazingly good that they are worthy of adult viewing.
Better than Robot Chicken.
I would say almost better than Robot Chicken because it's so on the slick.
That's a bold claim there, Mr. John.
Because it's so on the slick that it's meant for you to get the jokes while you watch with your kids. And so it's very, very hip in the way that they do that. And actually, the creator of the show Adventure Time is from Santa Fe.
Really?
Yeah, Pendleton Ward. And anyways,
that's a cool name.
I know, Pendleton.
Pendleton.
It's amazing. He's an amazing freaking idea man and creator. But anyways, Regular Show is the one we're talking about. That's the one that Joseph Scott got that from because whenever they say anything, they're like,
yep. It's Joseph. Just because, yeah, exactly. You'd tell him something, you'd be like, yeah, bro, I've been doing this thing. He'd be like, It's like his thing. You know what I'm saying? It was his reaffirmation.
It's all from Regular Show when they're like, yeah, you got to get... You gotta get on your shit, man. There's nothing worse than just you trying to say that you're about to do something and then you don't follow through. And he was like, well, I'm already on my stuff. What about you? He's like, I already put in my work. Blah, blah, blah.
Like an exclamation point.
Claudio, you've gone from you ended up at, but you started off with yeah man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah
Hey,
man.
man, I look forward to having How Cloud on this podcast. You know what I'm saying?
What did you say?
Who?
How Cloud, baby. You know what
How
I'm talking
Cloud.
about? Oh yeah, baby.
You got to have a hack line.
That dude's muted 16s. That's like the thing that makes me happiest about his bass playing.
There's a
So
lot of
funky.
great bass players in town, and Howard Cloud is absolutely one of them at the top of the list.
There's muted 16s.
Oof, so funky.
I agree.
So
Oh,
funky.
yeah.
Yo, Mr.
He's
Montano.
amazing.
Yes, sir.
Now your little guest appearance happened to come at a wonderful time because
Sheer happenstance.
is about to end here in a second. But yo, you've got something pretty awesome coming out that both Jono and I happen to also be incorporated in, man. What you want to tell the people about, bro? What you got coming up, my man?
So I have a new CD coming out. It's called Truth Journey, and it's just kind of like the songs kind of symbolize a trend, just kind of trying to just create music that's as honest as possible and not worry about other things that might take away from the honesty of it. But
I love that title, bro. I didn't know that
Thanks,
that was
man.
going to be the title of the album, bro.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, it's
Truth. What'd you say?
good. Truth Journey.
Journey.
Truth Journey. I love it, man.
And
That's beautiful.
Going to be released. So I guess I can talk about it on the podcast. Like, so right now we just finished Thomas Premisic. So what is this? July 31st, 2018. So Thomas and I, we just finished tracking all the horn parts last night. Like everything is finally tracked, and we were shooting for a deadline of last Friday. And so like right now we're kind of in this debate. So like the mixing process starts tomorrow morning. And we're in this process of trying to figure out, okay, do we just... The idea is to release the CD at a jazz festival that I'm playing on August 11th, and so the idea was, okay, like let's use that as a release. But I feel like we're kind of forcing the creative process, and so we were kind of talking about doing just like a I don't want to say rough mix, but like it's like let's just put it out, and if after that fact, if it needs fine tuning or it needs additional time to kind of marinate, then we're going to make that decision. And then from that point, just like put it on internet, distribute through social media, and put it out to radio campaigns. And
It's awesome,
that's
man.
kind of the latest process of it. So, and you guys both played guitar
Nice.
on it, dude. And I think because I've listened to all the songs, all the tracks on that CD many, many times. And I think that you guys like really complement. It's interesting, so we had two guitars on the project at the same time. We recorded at the same time, but they weren't competing with each other. I don't think at any point where it was a competition between how you guys were approaching. I feel like John came in with like textures and syncopated rhythms, like depending on the tune, and then Claudia was kind of like the harmonic foundation in combination with the piano was what was going on. So I think that was like a hard thing to do. Like balance out between you and Steve, but
Right,
also be
right.
sensitive at the same time between what's going on between you and John.
To hear everything.
And I think that you did a really, both of you guys did a really good job at it. So.
Thank you,
Thanks,
bro.
dude.
Yeah,
We've been playing together for a long time, you know.
right. No, it was nice, man. It was just really, to me, it seems like that would be something like that would be really hard to do, especially like something of the same instrument. Like if another trumpet player came in on someone's project.
Sure, man. It makes sense that way. But like with Jono and I mean, they used to call us the Doublemint Twins back in the day in the funk band that we used to play in Sugar on Top. Because we're so alike in a lot of ways, but also just because, we can complement each other, but also like understand, most of the time where each other is at, and it's more so usually John understanding where I'm at and kind of fitting into with the other part that
No,
needs the
it's definitely both
resolution.
ways.
But I'm saying like that balance has always been something that we've tested between the two of us since we first started playing together. Right. You know what I'm saying? After we first met, we really became friends, as opposed to just kind of knowing about each other our junior year in high school. And
Really?
from our junior year in high school, then our senior year, we started playing in jazz band and sharing the guitar chair. And granted, we weren't playing alongside each other, but we were jamming together from that point.
That's cool.
And so that relationship of like finding a way to like complement each other as well as like know what the other one is doing to support the other one in that role of like two guitars playing together. It's happened in so many settings by now that like when it came up to do it in your album, it's like, you know, I wasn't worried going into that studio.
Nah, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like Jono was gonna go in there like he had heard the album, the music, even if he hadn't have. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got to
I know
hear
he
that
did.
day.
I know
sent
he
me
did.
all those songs
I know
that
he
day,
did.
so I was like driving in the car with Sandy
But I'm just
on the way
saying-
over here, like, let's stream these songs right quick. Like,
but
let's
I'm just
go
saying,
ahead and
had
get
John
this
not,
together.
you know what I'm saying? Like, had he even just come into the studio, like that relationship between he and I had already been built, so much so to where there was trust between both parties.
Is that hard for both of you guys to come
to
by?
serve the music?
Like,
I mean,
if you were to insert another player into that situation,
I know Jono's played with a lot of other guitar players since he lived in New Orleans. It doesn't happen for me as much here in town. In New Orleans, it does because there's a lot of guitar players and a lot of opportunities to play gigs in general. So you do duo guitar gigs much more often than I do guitar gigs, or have the opportunity to book duo guitar stuff out here in New Mexico. And so, not to say that I find it hard out here, but I mean, you know, John and I got our thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's easy, and we ain't got to work at it, you know? So when you hit us up and it was like, John was going to come do some colors and some textures, like, John was just going to do Jono. I'm going to do me. You know what I'm saying? I'd already been playing in your band and already, you know, hopefully filled up that role to satisfy what you wanted from the guitar position, to lay down that foundation for Jono just to come in and be like, I'm going to trick a little bit of this, a little bit of this over here, a little bit of magic over here, a little bit of fucking devil, you know, stuff over here, a little bit of, you know, spaceship sounds, a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? A little bit of Jesus sounds, some other Mary juices, you know what I'm saying? Hey,
dude.
don't be blasphemous.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask. I'd be remiss not to ask. So like John, like what are you thinking? Like those textures, I thought you did like such a good job of like matching the vibe. Like is that
Thanks.
is that a combination of like, I mean, or what is that? Is that just because you've listened to so much music, or like what's your inspiration when you like, oh, I'm gonna try this one and like fit? I just want to understand that process for you a little bit better.
I'll be totally real with you. Like, it's just an experimentation all the time. And like, yeah, I use like listening to lots of music to inform kind of like taste within certain genre, as in like you would spice a dish in certain like areas of the world differently. But like, I kind of like improvise a lot, and I think you could probably hear it on those takes where it was like, all right, I had an idea, tried it, no, not very well good. Okay, that doesn't work. I got to go a different direction and like to really check it out. And I think like sometimes I've done that live a lot with like people in New Orleans, especially, where I like started really getting into like the sound craft game. And it's like sometimes you just experiment and it's good and it works out, and you like think, I'm gonna go for this idea, and everything works, and all the pedals cooperate, and all the gain levels cooperate, and all the cables and electricity and amplifiers are all working and firing on all cylinders, and you totally get what you had in your head out through electronics to the audience. And other times you really don't. And it really can go the other way, and it can go completely wrong. So I think like that happens so often, you know. I try to be more and more consistent all the freaking time, you know, working with these electronics. But like, you experiment, you like improvise, and you just like go for something, and when it works, and when it doesn't, you just say like, all right, well, like, shake it up the snow globe, let's try this again.
So I feel like there's not a lot of guitar players that kind of like take that approach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, is there like is that like sort of a vibe on the guitar where like people just specialize in creating textures and sounds rather than kind of like harmonic foundations or chord foundations or rhythm foundations?
I mean, it's become specialized, right?
It's become a very big thing that not just guitarists, but definitely like popularized by guitarists, especially like in lots of churches. You know, lots of churches have like
gospel churches, or like,
yeah, I would say more of like more the pop rock in like those sort of like style churches. That music that accompanies those churches, they have like a lot of this culture of like pedal and texture creation.
Interesting.
And aside from that, of course, like, you know, like coming out of like craft work in the 80s and stuff out of Germany, and like, of course, Nine Inch Nails and like Rage Against the Machine. Of course, like all over the board, people are doing like crazy textures and pedal sounds throughout like the past 40 years. You know what I'm saying?
But that culture that you were talking about, is that something that's, would you say, has been within the past like 4 or 5 years, or has that always?
No, definitely within like the last, like especially growing within the past like 25 years.
25 years,
or even more since like the 80s when like guitar pedals became popular, and like the guitarist, even Prince, had like his pedal rig, and like people were doing that for a long time, but it's like not something you start really paying attention to as a critical listener until someone hips you to it.
Right. No,
Like,
exactly.
did you check out how that sound of that guitar sounded like a guitar, but it was also kind of like swirly, and it was like fat on the bottom, but the top end wasn't so bright. You know what I mean? And then like
for
start
a
getting
few songs,
the idea of production in your head and in your ear.
No, that's like, no, I know what you're talking about. Like, especially for that song that you did. Like, I don't know if you remember that 12/8, like Stevie Wonder Higher Ground Start type groove that we had, and then you put like a really heavy metal, like almost it sounded like heavy metal guitar, and it just sounded like really powerful and really clean, and it added really like nice textures. But I don't know, it's just like I like the way I think about it is like if I ever have to call. Like, so say like you're unavailable for whatever, like say for my next recording project, like, hey John, like, are you available to come down or whatever? And you're like, hey man, like I'm doing this tour or whatever, you're unavailable. It's like, okay, well, who can I call to kind of like be that texture person? And I don't, like, I was thinking, and then that's what led me to ask that question, is like, because I feel like that's something that's really rare. And, but I don't know, like I'm not in the guitar world, so like, I don't know.
I mean, this is just natural, bro. I watched so much regular show, hung out with Joseph so long, and Claudio. But I think that there are people here in Albuquerque that do that in the scene. Mike Wood is an awesome guitar player that can definitely do a lot of things, super versatile. I know my friend from high school, Andy Carmona, does like tons of pedal crafting, sound texture work. He's got all these great effects and like can create these huge wash textures and like really cool things going on. Let me pull up this guy. I'd love to play you this guy that my friend Isaac Fox, who owns Little Bear Coffee, he hit me to this dude who's a friend of his that I really love.
Are we in trouble with that?
No, he's coolio.
He's cool, so he wants to.
It's an artist called Lowercase Noises. And check this out. This is pretty sick. Based out of Santa Fe, I believe. Santa Fe. Maybe he's here in Mexico. Cray shit. So like, it's very patient music, This is a live track called Dawn that he did this live, made this in front of an audience, and it's just like getting an idea of like crafting things that, his whole vibe. This is called Tierra Incognita, and that's like made up in the Ojito Wilderness over here in northern New Mexico, and he just like kind of plays it outdoors and captures musically the vibe of what's happening in the weather outside and up in the sky.
That's sick. That's really cool.
Pretty fucking dope dude. I was really, really amazed to hear about him and start checking out his music.
Nice.
Lowercase noises.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. John, thank you so much for being on the podcast, bro.
Dude,
what the heck,
Claudio,
man?
thank you for having me on your podcast, dog.
It's been awesome having you here for, for the whole month. It's been like you're an awesome house guest, but also just like playing all these freaking shows with you has been awesome, inspiring. It's been sick to like just really get to bounce a lot of ideas off of you and play with a lot of different musicians here in town.
Likewise, dude.
Yeah, bro.
It's so sick. And to
man.
get to record with you, Ryan, on your CD. It's been super sick.
I'm so excited for that thing to come out,
just
bro.
Hang and play 4th of July.
So you do think it's going to come out August 11th, or when do you think it's going to come out?
It's going to come out August 11th. That'll be kind of like a soft release.
August 11th.
Yeah.
It probably like digitally it'll be available a little later. I don't know. We'll see what comes of it.
Sick, bro. We're really excited to see what comes of it, man. Thank you for coming in last second.
Yes,
saying what's
indeed.
up, I know, right? Yeah, that'll be staying forever. Oh, yeah. But for now, this is John Maestas. This is Ryan Montano. This is Claudio Chaluz signing out with Art Talk Music. We thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for joining.
Talk.